Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I have an interesting video here. This guy says, here's why you want a really boring job, how money works, from a channel titled How Money Works. He's got 1.42 million subscribers, and this video alone caught 3.5 million views. It's 5 years old, though. I mean, a lot of things have changed. Or no, excuse me, 3 years old. A lot of things have changed in the last few years. Let's jump in and see what he has to say.
I was watching the 1999 movie Office Space the other day, a comedy set at the peak of the 1990s corporate culture. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, but the more I watch it, the more I notice something. The core of this comedy is its cynical commentary on working a boring job at a boring company, but the more I watch it, the better the jobs of Peter and his coworkers look. Because it's a comedy, the writers took a lot of creative liberties to make Peter's working environment especially terrible. But even still, 20 years later, it doesn't look that bad. His office cubicle would be a luxury to most workers today in an open-plan office with no walls in sight. He is allowed to go on extended lunches with his colleagues, and even his over-dramatized shitty boss knows that working on a weekend is a big ask rather than an expectation. This made me think of the classic anecdote. Find a job you love and you will never work a day in your life. Most of us go to work because we have to, not because we want to. And that means a lot of us are stuck spending a good portion of our waking hours doing things that aren't very enjoyable. A cunning strategy that school career planners and LinkedIn gurus will promote to get around this unfortunate predicament is to find a job that you love doing so that you are excited to go to work every day and you don't feel like you are working at all. On the surface, this sounds sensible. Now more than ever,
that is a nice idea. I mean, if you're able to make work play or align something with your ikigai, your reason for being, which is what do you love to do, what does the world need, what are you good at, and what you can be paid for, when it intersects all those areas, you're definitely going to be in a better situation than if you maybe don't have 2 or 3 of those areas. So, but it all comes back to knowing yourself. And this is the key in One Life, which is the system that I created to help you know yourself and know your purpose and really know your mission in life, purpose/mission, so that you can do the work that you were created to do, because it's a double win. You win because every day you wake up eager and excited to start your day because you're working on projects that are in alignment with who you are, your ikigai, your reason for being, what makes you come alive, the great Howard Thurman quote. But also, we win, your fellow human beings on earth, because we get to experience the fruits of your labor, the products, the services, the experiences. That's what it's all about. I mean, if you haven't already downloaded the free guide I give you when you subscribe to my email list at gmarkphillips.com/subscribe, you can go check it out. It's how to find your mission in life, like 41 ways, ideas and insights and questions, and a lot of quotes and thoughts like that. That one is in there. When you find what you, kind of the Mark Twain thing, when you make your vacation your vocation, you never work a day in your life. And also, find what you love to do and you never work a day. That's in there. That helps you in 2 ways. One, it helps you know your purpose, but also stay on your purpose as you walk through life. Because remember, the playing field always changes. New opportunities arise, new potential projects arise. You want to make sure you're on your game every step on your journey, your hero's journey through life. It's based on gamification, which makes it a fun task. Okay, side note done. Let's continue.
New technologies, there are millions of different job titles out there with new professions and career paths being made every single day. My job as a now full-time YouTuber didn't exist 15 years ago, but now it's the career that children want most, beating out traditionally popular options like astronaut. But I want to do what I do best, which is to rein in on this parade of finding fulfillment through your work. Instead, I want to try and convince you that what you want instead is a really boring job. A job that doesn't make you or anybody else excited, a job that nobody would dream of. So, it's time to learn how money works, which was made possible today by Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a completely free daily email newsletter that gives you the news you need to know in a way that makes it fun to read. Morning Brew has quickly become one...
P.S. Side note, the engine of one life. Again, it ties into your purpose, your mission. I bring this up because he's doing it right here. You get attention by talking about things people are searching for. And then number two, it's a two-step process. You solve problems that they have in their daily life that you want to solve, right? You're not going to solve problems that you don't want to solve, because then you're going to wake up and you're going to hate your life every day. Again, Ikigai style. But I bring that up because look what he did. He got our attention with this very interesting videos, 3.5 million views, and he's selling us something. Let's continue.
My favorite news sources because it gives you the stories that you need to know, and it does it in a way that gets directly to the point. Their stories cover a range of topics like careers, real estate, world news, politicians, education, and smart living. Find out how much more informed your day can be by starting it off with Morning Brew by using the sign up with the link below. There are lots of very attractive jobs out there that for a number of factors would appear to be preferable over other jobs. There is being a doctor, lawyer, or high-level corporate executive, which is enticing because these roles are traditionally very well paid and are very well respected by society at large. If you tell someone that you are a C-suite executive at a Fortune 500 company, you are instantly going to get more respect than if you told them that you work in retail. Is this how it should be? Of course not. But it is, and people are willing to sacrifice a lot for that respect. These roles come with the expectation of very long and irregular hours, to say nothing of the years.
See, what you do should never be a sacrifice in a perfect world. I realize we all have to do things we don't want to do sometimes to pay the bills. But if you can know yourself, know your mission, align your work with how you're built, right? That's the ideal. That's the heaven on earth type of experience. Then you never work a day in your life. It's all play to you. It's all in alignment to you. That's the ideal.
Of grueling study or corporate butt kissing needed to get the jobs in the first place. Now, there's actually nothing wrong with these jobs. Most people know what they are getting themselves in for when they pursue these kinds of careers, and the trade-offs are clear. Most people do these jobs because of prestige, not because they love them. So what about jobs that people are more passionate about? The jobs that people would supposedly love to do? I am talking about jobs in the fields that people get excited about, like gaming, fashion, travel, and sports. Imagine getting paid to make video games or attend fashion events around the world. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, no. Big name companies in aspirational industries are more often than not.
Let's talk about that for a moment. I think it's a bad way of looking at the world that only if you're in a quote unquote creative field can you express yourself as a creator. We're all creators. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, builders, they can create with their minds and their hands, right? Design build companies, builders, remodelers, construction people, they have a vision in their mind and they do that vision. Doctors are creators because you can use your mind, your creative mind that the creator gave you to look at things in a different way, to come up with solutions other people haven't had before, to be, it's all about how can I be more helpful to more people more often? And how can I use my God-given ability to create products and services that help people? And that's why every job is a creator. Chefs are creator, or chefs are creating food is creative. Chefs are creative. Servers are creative. Waiters are creative because they not only are they creating a service, but they're also creating an experience for you. Everything ultimately comes down to the experience. Manufacturers that create a car as a product ultimately are creating an experience. Performers that create a service, say they're singers, dancers, writers, whatever else, they're ultimately creating an experience. Ultimately, it's all come down to experience. That's why I always go back to like the human experience. But don't get closed in and think that, if you're an artist, you can only be creative. If you're an actor or an actress, you can only be creative. All jobs are creative.
Terrible places to work. The reason for this is simple. They know that people want to work for them, so if you as a worker aren't willing to put in unpaid overtime, deal with abusive management, and accept comparatively low pay, then there are dozens or sometimes even hundreds of equally qualified candidates who are willing to put up with these issues because they get to work what they thought would be their dream job. Turnover in these companies is extremely high, especially when it is considered that these businesses are attracting skilled career-driven workers, the type of worker that you might normally expect to stick around for longer than a regular employee. Now, of course, changing jobs regularly is actually a good idea. Employees that change companies on average every 2 years are paid significantly better than their peers who attempt to work for internal promotions, but you need to be quitting for the right reasons. Quitting your current job to start a new, more senior role at a company offering double your current salary is a great career move. Quitting your current job because you can't mentally handle another week of a coding crunch is probably going to stall your career development. Another reason it's best to avoid doing what you love for work is that you won't love it forever. Even the most exciting jobs you can imagine have a lot of boring work that comes with them. A video game tester will spend most of their time doing the same mission over and over again to make sure there are no...
Let's talk about that for a moment. Doing what you love. So a lot of people say it. MJ DeMarco, one of my kind of gurus, and inside of One Life, which there's a private video library, private image library of different tools and frameworks and paradigms and ideologies to help you navigate the game of life and create the things that you are meant to create. He has this, he created the Millionaire Fastlane, which he has a Fastlane forum. I think he charges like $100 and some odd a year, if I'm not mistaken, right around 100. There's different tiers. He's written 2 books. But his whole thing is he's very adamant about it. Don't do what you love. I disagree with him on that. I think from my experience is find a way to make what you love marketable, right? There's this ideology. I hope I can get it right, but I think it's very important to think about as creators and as business people, problem solvers. We're all problem solvers in the world. And I think it goes like this. It's easier to teach a marketing person to be a creator than to teach a creator to be a marketing person. It's something to that effect, or it's easier to teach a business person, how to. I'm going to change tracks here because it's like this. It's like this. It's like systems thinking versus a business person. I think I might have. We're going to move on. Hopefully, you get the idea. Be a marketer. My takeaway is this: be a marketer first. Or be a creator and a marketer. If you don't want to be a starving artist. Let me just say it that way. You do not want to be a starving artist. You want to do as Seth Godin says. Find products for your people, right? Don't find people to buy your products. Find products for your people, which requires listening to people. In fact, how to find your mission in life was me listening to people that I would talk to. A lot of them said this. Something to this effect. I want to do something different in life, or I want to do something more, but I don't know what to do. So I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Maybe I could put together a free resource, again, at gmarkphillips.com/subscribe, that will help that person, these people that I've talked to, understand and know themselves so they can create a side hustle. Maybe it becomes your main hustle. Maybe create 3 or 4 side hustles. That way you can take advantage of your multidimensional nature, right? I have the Focus and Flow product and apparel line because I like graphic design, but I also like mindset and conscious creating, which is the blending. Focus and Flow is products and apparel for conscious creators at focusandflow.co. That's shirts and hats and mugs to remind people that they're a creator. And the best way to create is from a conscious, focused way, which means you don't want to think about or talk about or feel in ways that do not support the reality and the experiences you want to have in life. And then, of course, my channel here on YouTube, which is the talk show that I always wanted to talk about the things that are important to me about enhancing the human experience. So multidimensional things, but it all fits into who I am as a person. And yours will fit in and do fit in. I'm sure you've already created a number of things in your life. Yours fit into who you are as a person. So thanks for following me down the rabbit hole. Here we go.
Bugs. And most people that work for NFL teams spend their days in an office answering emails just like everybody else. Even if a dream job does manage to live up to its hype initially, there is one surefire way to end up hating something you originally loved, and that is being forced to do it for 40 hours a week with the threat of homelessness hanging over you if you don't. Really, you are much better off working for money and then using that money to enjoy things you love in your own time in your own way. Hopefully, I have convinced you that exciting jobs are not all that they seem, but surely that doesn't mean that a boring job is the best alternative, right? Well, they have a few big perks.
And the other thing I want to throw out there, and let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Sometimes the job that was right for you and you loved and was exciting changes over time, because guess what? We change over time. We grow and develop in ways that we can't really fully understand, right? We're multidimensional, multifaceted human beings on a journey of growth and development, and we know ourselves more. This is why the jobs that someone chooses sometimes when they're 18 isn't what they're doing when they're 50 and 60. And this is why you have a lot of people reinventing themselves in life. I think people, the ultimate goal, and again, one of the keys to winning is continually reinventing yourself every day, if possible, every minute, if possible.
That a lot of people don't really consider. A boring job at a boring company will on average be easier to get than the rare, more prized jobs at exciting companies. Having more options available to you, especially early in your career, can be a big head start over your peers who wait it out or go through extended internships to get a traditional dream job. Boring jobs will also on average pay better. Ford's median employee made $64,316 in 2018, including bonuses, overtime, and stock awards. GM's median employee made slightly more than $77,849. Tesla, a far more exciting business, paid its median employee just $56,163. This, of course, will not be true for every company, but again, if there are more people that want to work at a company, then generally that company can get away with paying their workers less. This is even more apparent when we zoom out to look at entire industries. On average, web developers will earn more than game developers, a marketing manager for Exxon will earn more than a marketing manager for the Patriots, and an administrative assistant at a bank will earn more than an administrative assistant at Vanity Fair. If you are doing a job to make money, you should maximize the amount of money you can get for doing that job. You won't see the name on the side of your building from your desk anyway. Now, if making money isn't the most important thing for you when considering a career, a boring job still has its perks. Boring jobs are just genuinely more enjoyable. A boring company is more likely to be filled with employees and managers who realize that a job is something people do to put food on the table. This type of corporate attitude tends to result in more productive workplace relationships. A manager at a generic boring company that has been in their job for decades and has no ambitions of moving up the corporate ladder is not going to take it personally when you ask for a raise, a promotion, or a reference letter. Contrast that with a company where the management has drunk the "we are changing the world" Kool-Aid, and you are much more likely to face opposition when doing these things that all employees should really be doing as regularly as possible. Time and time again, we hear stories about high staff turnover and toxic workplace culture in companies that sound exciting from the outside. This is because when managers believe what they are doing is more important than just working a job to make a living, they naturally expect their colleagues to work harder than should reasonably be expected to. Toxic workplace cultures are almost inevitable in environments where managers will think to themselves that straight up verbal abuse is really just a heated disagreement amongst peers who are too passionate about what they do. These types of managers are also much more likely to go unchecked in exciting fields, because again, staff turnover is not a big deal when there is an endless line of new candidates. Now, before anybody says it in the comments, yes, you're absolutely right. There are great managers and there are terrible managers in every kind of company, but you are much more likely to run into one in a job that you thought was going to be exciting. And that's the biggest bonus of a boring job: better management on average. That boring company manager from earlier that has been at their job for a decade will have one big advantage over the manager from an exciting company with high staff turnover: they will have more experience at their job. Working for a manager that has seen every possible problem the job can throw at them is going to be a much more pleasant experience than working for a manager who is figuring it out as they go along. A more experienced manager also has less to prove. If they feel secure in their own position, then they won't feel the need to work their employees to the bone to avoid becoming one of those turnover statistics themselves. Last month, I made a video about why management is always terrible, and the reason that video was so important is because people don't quit jobs. They quit managers. Even the best,
That's
most
interesting.
exciting job in the world would quickly become unbearable with a useless manager that takes their shortcomings out on their workers. Working a boring job gives you a
You know, I think that's true. I mean, probably the biggest factor to whether you enjoy your job or not is the people that you work with and the culture, if it's in alignment with who you are and what you want. I think that most people do quit because of interpersonal reasons, not necessarily the job itself. Could be the job itself sometimes, but I think the interpersonal reasons are the biggest factor.
better chance of finding a good manager who will make your time at work not totally miserable, and also help to progress your career so that you can make more money and use that to enjoy the hobbies that other people were dumb enough to try and build a career around. I have a theory about why we all love movies like Office Space or TV shows like Parks and Rec and The Office so much. These shows all highlight the realities of a boring workplace to a comically ridiculous degree, but at the same time, they are also very comfortable places to work. The people stick around, and even the bad guy bosses are not abusive towards their employees. Maybe this is an indictment on how low the bar is for what we consider comfortable working arrangements in America. But I think it's something more. We turn to these kinds of shows for comfort binge watching. We wouldn't do that if we didn't secretly think that maybe working alongside these people in these boring offices wouldn't be such a bad thing. Now, if you want to learn more about why good managers are so hard to come by, go and watch.
There you go. Let's see what the comments are saying here. I can say from experience, working a boring job with pleasant staff and management is the best thing ever for your mental health. 31,000 likes. Yeah, that makes sense. The older I get, the more I realize how limited my emotional energy really is. My family deserves that, not my employer. Yep, I agree. I'm a musician. The best job I ever had was working customer service for a museum. I just sat there with my friend and we took 2-hour lunch breaks and no one noticed and my brain was not fired at the end of the day. Yeah, that makes sense. I think some folks are getting the wrong message here. A boring job does not mean you are lazy or work at some kind of low-level position. A boring job should mean working hard, not working excessive hours, but working hard when you are there. A boring job is just a regular job versus trying to find a job where you get paid for doing a hobby. Doing what you love changes when you add the pressure of deadlines, a boss, and people you don't want to talk to. It sure does. I have a boring job and absolutely love it. My bosses are so lenient. No one wants to apply for this job because it's either too boring or overwhelming. They can't keep people, so they treat us so we won't leave. Let's see, working in a job everyone would love to have, or in a company that is changing the world, is the corporate equivalent of being paid in exposure. That's an interesting take. Makes sense. Boring jobs are only good if you get paid well. If you're not making that much money, that boring job can be absolutely soul crushing, and you will feel like your life is slowly rotting away because you don't make enough money to do anything. This person makes a good point. That is, and we'll end on that comment, and let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But there is something to be said for a job that makes your soul sing. I talked to someone just a few days ago at a birthday party, and she works for a certain large company that sells, let's just say this way, the largest company that sells goods online in the world. And depending on the different facilities, she said sometimes it can be soul crushing. Depending on the different facilities and situations, it could be soul crushing because you're basically like a robot. And in some positions within this company, you're basically like a robot, and she called it very mindless, and soul crushing kind of came up. We all know how that can be. If you're not using the machine if we're not using the machine God gave us in the best possible way to serve other human beings, it can become soul crushing because we're not robots. We're not designed to put, product, widget A and widget B for 8 to 10 hours a day. That will become soul crushing. Just like if you isolate yourself from other human beings and you live a very alone life, your brain will stop working in the best way if you don't have that social interaction. I mean, I think it's very similar to that. We're not robots. We're dynamic, creative beings. And ideally, not to say again, we don't have to sometimes do things we don't want to do to pay the bills. Ideally, we want to keep our focus on knowing ourselves and doing our work in the world, whatever that is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next one. All the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.